President Trump fulfilling another campaign promise, he says, to make America safe again by signing 2 new executive orders to strengthen America's law enforcement agencies. And to break down those new orders, we're joined by former head of the Chicago PD and retired FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jodi Weis. Good morning to you, sir. Great to see you.
Good morning.
You know, many law enforcement agencies obviously applauding these efforts. Trump signed those orders last week. A big change from the previous administration. One major point, Jodi, seems to offer more legal protections to officers. Tell me more about that.
That's a big deal, Jan. You know, all too often officers face legal challenges that are totally unfounded. And these can just have so much impact upon their families. Yes, they usually win the cases, but the cost is so high, both emotionally and financially. So if the Attorney General can come up with a mechanism to offer both legal protection as well as indemnification when these officers are performing their duties in accordance with their official duties, that could be a big deal. But you know what goes hand in hand with legal protection, Jan, is training. And I was so excited that this order actually showed and talked about giving training. When budgets are cut, training's out. So if the federal government can come forward and give funding as well as additional training to state and local officers, that's going to be a really, really big deal.
Yeah. And you also mentioned the Attorney General because you like that she's also been ordered to review all pending federal legal disputes between communities and law enforcement. Tell us more about these consent decrees and how much they can cost.
Oh, Jan, this is such a sore subject with me. These cost so much money. And I'm so happy that the Attorney General has been tasked to look at these and either modify them, rescind them, or end them. What are they? They're agreements between the courts and a department in a city based upon an investigation conducted by the Department of Justice. And that's a story for another day. But what happens, they enter into these agreements for, quote, reform. Well, that sounds good. The problem is there is no incentive for them to end. The court will appoint monitors. Monitors come with a team. The team is very expensive. Their money comes from these consent decrees where they monitor the actions of the police department. So there is no incentive for these monitors to ever say, yes, Department X, you are in compliance. Take Los Angeles, for example, 12 years and $60 million it took. And there was no way it took that long for a department to go through this agreement and, quote, reform. So I'm so happy that Pam Bondi is going to be looking at this and hopefully put an end to these because they're just so expensive and they literally handcuff a police department.
There was also mention of using federal task forces to help local and state police departments combat crime. You know, you made use of this when you were superintendent of the Chicago PD, also when I was there. How did that work out for you?
Oh, I love task forces. They are so effective. And why? Why is that? When I first read this order, I started thinking about the 90s when we developed Safe Street task forces, and they were really effective. But why was that? Well, you bring all the resources of the federal government and you combine it with the street knowledge of the police officers. So it's a very effective crime fighting team. As a benefit, when you get to the prosecutions, you can then negotiate with the defendant. Do you want to go state? Do you want to go federal? And there's an advantage and disadvantage to both. State is a shorter period of time, but usually closer to home. Federal, much safer facility, but you're going to serve a longer sentence and you're going to be far away. But a side benefit to this, which I think it's the human element, is the friendship and the trust that's built between the officers and the agents working together. When I was in Houston and Phoenix, all these guys played on the same softball team together. They interacted with the family. In fact, in Chicago, on the FBI's Violent Crime Task Force, it was usually a police officer who'd been there for 15 years teaching the new agent the ropes when he came to that squad. So I love task forces. I think it's the best way to really address crime.
And this is not one size fits all. As we know, there will be extenuating circumstances with every department as to how this will apply specifically to their jurisdiction. But you see a problem with the funding side of all this.
Yeah, executive orders are great. They command the different agencies in the government to do things, but there's no funding. And you look at areas of training. I know right now the FBI's budget does not allow for training for state and local. So I hope that the Congress will add additional funds to allow the training to take place and allow the federal government to help state and local agencies. They need it, and this is a way to really help them out. So always the funding issue, Jan.
Right, always about the money. Former head of the Chicago PD and retired FBI Special Agent in Charge, Jodi Weis. Always great to see you, sir. Hope you have a great week. Thanks for joining us.
You too, Jan. Thank you.